We have one last problem that we're going to get together. So far, let's kind of recap what we've done. We know that the three interior angles of a triangle add up to 180 degrees. We know that if we have an exterior angle, it is equal to the sum of the two non-adjacent interiors. And we know that if we're dealing with a right triangle, the two acute angles are going to be complementary, add up to 90 degrees. And that's what we did in the last several problems. We're going to kind of put everything together along with what we know about angles in general and find, right now it looks kind of crazy because there's a lot of missing angles. We're going to find the measure of every single missing angle here. You can go in order, you can skip around. I think it probably makes sense to start with number one based off of how much information we have about that triangle, and then maybe I'll skip around from there. So let's take a look. And again, maybe if when you're looking at this problem, if you approach it differently, as long as you get the same answers and follow the correct logic, you're good to go. So we know, looking at this triangle, it has angle 1 in it. It's a right triangle. And we know that the two acute angles here have to add up to 90. So basically, measure of angle 1 plus 40 has to equal 90, which means if I solve that out, which you could probably do in your head, measure of angle 1 has to equal 50 degrees in order for this to work. So measure of angle 1 is 50 degrees. You could double check. 40 plus 50 plus 90 is 180. So it also follows our triangle sum theorem. Well, what do we know about other angles based off of knowing that this one is 50? Well, if this angle is 50, angle 3 is also 50 degrees because they are vertical angles. So measure of angle 3 is also 50 degrees. So you can use what you know about triangles, but you can also use what you know about angles in general. The next angle I'm going to look at is angle 2. Angle 1 and angle 2 make a linear pair, and we know that angles that are part of a linear pair add up to 180 degrees. So we can say that 50 plus whatever angle 2 is adds up to 180 since they're a linear pair. If we solve that equation, which you could potentially do in your head, or you can use a calculator, 180 minus 50 gives us 130 degrees. So measure of angle 2 is 130 degrees. But just like 1 and 3 were vertical angles, angle 2 and angle 4 are vertical angles. So since measure of angle 2 is 130, that means measure of angle 4 is also 130 degrees. So then where do we go from here? I'm going to mark those ones in just because it makes things a little bit easier. This one was 50. Okay. So now we can kind of approach things like we did with the first triangle using the second triangle that we haven't done much with yet. Measure of angle 3 is 50 degrees. It is a right triangle, so that means that angle 3, which is 50, plus whatever measure of angle 5 is, have to add up to 90. They have to be complementary. So I'm going to say that 50 plus measure of angle 5 equals 90. Since we're dealing with a right triangle, the two acute angles have to add up to 90. Solving that equation out, we get that measure of angle 5 is 40 degrees. So this angle right here is 40 degrees. Okay, so based off of that, if measure of angle 5 is 40 degrees, angle 5 and angle 6 make a linear pair. So I say that 40 plus measure of angle 6, since they are a linear pair, add up to 180. And when I solve that equation, I get that measure of angle 6 equals 140. You could have also said that since angle 6 is the exterior angle, it's going to be the same as 50 plus 90, which is 140. Either way, this angle is 140 degrees. Let's see what else we're missing. We still need 7 and we still need 8. Angle 7 is right here. 7 and the 90-degree angle or right angle are a linear pair. So measure of angle 7 plus 90 equals 180. And that means that measure of angle 7 also is 90 degrees. Another way you could have tackled that is angle 7 is an exterior angle. That means it has to be added up to 50 plus 40, the two non-adjacent interior angles. So either way, you would get the measure of angle 7 is 90. One last one, which is angle 8. Angle 8 is over here. You can look at it one of two ways. 40 plus whatever 8 is need to add up to 180 because they're a linear pair. So that's actually the same equation we solved right here, except for now we're dealing with measure of angle 8. So if I solve that equation, I get measure of angle 8 equals 140 degrees. Another way you could look at it is, since this is an exterior angle, it's going to be equal to the sum of the two non-adjacent interior angles. 50 plus 90 gives us 140 as well. There's other ways you could tackle each of those. There's probably more than one way to get every single angle in there other than maybe angle 1. So there's a lot of freedom in how you get this, but as long as you get the right answers, that's what's important. That is it for today for dealing with finding interior and exterior angles of triangles. Have a wonderful day.